So today we are going to discuss the importance of having an online payment system which is adaptable to suit the needs of all parents and staff in school. First of all, we are going to explore a few points which highlight areas of focus when looking for an all-inclusive payment system, followed by a short demonstration of school money to show how our online payment system encompasses inclusivity for all. Have you ever thought to yourself, we couldn't have an online payment system in our school as some of our parents wouldn't be able to use it? Well, why not? Fairness and equality are pivotal, and a lack of inclusivity in the school environment can result in bullying, poor behaviour, and lack of participation. Ultimately, it puts children at a disadvantage, not just in school, but in all walks of their life. As a result, it is a school's duty to ensure each pupil and parent has a chance of succeeding as soon as they enter the school gates. So what is the definition of inclusivity? Inclusivity, the practice or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resource for people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalised, such as those having physical or mental disabilities or belonging to other minority groups. So where does your online payment system come into this? Within our school money system, we include many functionalities that create an all-inclusive environment for your school. No transaction charges equals no minimum spend. Schools often find themselves having to set a minimum spend for parents online without realising that they could be alienating some of their parents. Schools often do this to cut down on costs by reducing the number of transactions that they have in school. We have simply introduced an all-inclusive fee which allows for unlimited transactions. If a parent can only pay for one lunch at a time, there would be no restrictions on our school money system. Part Pay Online. We often hear from our schools that this Part Pay Online feature helps parents and staff mimic the current pay what you can culture in schools. How often has a parent dropped off a couple of pounds towards a school trip because that's all that they have at the time? Or how often has one of your parents had to decide which school trip they pay for first when they have multiple children in school? School Money eradicates this entirely. Our Part Pay Online feature allows parents to chip away at multiple payments at one time, resulting in parents not making these difficult decisions and having to save up to pay for a school trip. Parents will now have the option to pay as often as they wish up until the payment is due. Manageable and controlled arrears. This is really important because often schools do not wish to allow arrears for any types of payment. However, at times like this, it can sometimes not be avoidable. So schools need a system in place to effectively manage these situations. Our school money system will allow arrears at the school's discretion. And if this is the case, the school can send a gentle reminder to parents at the click of a button with an overview of what they need to pay and how to pay it. Using our installments feature or our Part Pay Online, schools can easily set up reasonable payment plans to recover any arrears that may occur. Multiple payments to one account. School Money allows multiple parents and carers to be assigned to one pupil. With our multiple contact feature, separated families can access the system as an individual without the need to share login details and have equal rights of access. We also have the ability to take a card payment in school without the need for a PIN terminal at no extra cost to the school. For those family members that wish to make a one-off payment for a trip or a lunch, they could simply call the school and make that payment over the phone or at reception. Inclusion is a right and not a privilege for a select few. So now we're going to discuss the importance of cashless catering. With a lot of schools moving towards a pre-order dinner system, you want to ensure that you are choosing the payment system that allows equality for all of your parents and pupils. Whether you are pre-ordering from home or in the classroom, School Money allows the same functionality and choices to all. Sensitive information such as free school meal allowance is not displayed, and pupil balances are only viewable to those necessary. As we mentioned earlier, debts can be managed in your school at your discretion. If a pupil shows up to school without a lunch and you can't get hold of the parent, that can easily be managed on school money. If you just log a meal in the system, you can then chase those funds at a later date. So the power of PayPoint. For these of you that are not sure what PayPoint is, have you ever noticed a purple and yellow PP outside one of your local post offices? Well, if you haven't already, then I'm sure you will now. PayPoint offers a facility for you to accept cash from your parents at an external location. If you have cash-based parents paying for gas or electric, they will be using PayPoint to do so. If PayPoint is something your school requires, we are happy to help you pinpoint your local PayPoint facilities, making it easy for you and your parents to accept cash. Through the use of PayPoint, your school can reach the desired cashless environment without the exclusion of any parents. Once topped up using PayPoint, a parent has the same functionality to book meals and book for club sessions online. So now we've established the reasons why an all-inclusive system is important to your school. Let's just take a look at school money, and I'll just give you a short demonstration. So school money is a web-based system, which means you in school and your parents can access a system from anywhere with an internet connection. For those schools that already subscribe to any of our systems, it is single sign-on, which means that you can access the system using the current information that you already have. So we're going to start off with trips, and I'll go through some of the things that we have in school money that we spoke about earlier that do offer you that inclusivity in school. So every time we want our parents to make a payment, we simply create a payment request. These payment requests can be for trips, milk, swimming, basically anything that you have in school. So let's go to the zoo. All we do is pop in our description, which our parents will see, and how much it is to go. By using installments, you can break payments down into easy, manageable payments for your parents. So let's say we're going to allow our parents to pay in two. To ensure that payments aren't missed, we do have the option to manage due dates by simply clicking choose date and selecting the date that we wish the parents to have made a payment. Within our settings, there's a couple of other options that tend to help our schools. Parental consent will allow you to take consent online. Voluntary contributions will allow parents to simply make a contribution towards a school trip if they cannot afford to pay the full amount. Our Part Pay Online feature is what we discussed earlier. So this will allow your parents to log in and chip away at any trips that they have available. If they have more than one child in school, by using the Part Pay Online feature, it will allow those parents to pay for small amounts for each child that they have in school. So we just simply say who is involved in this trip. If it's a particular year group, they're nice and easy to select. So year 4 is going to the zoo. At this point, we can manage payments as an individual without any other parents knowing what anybody is paying. For example, let's say Max is actually going to pay £5 towards this school trip. We can just change his amount to 5, and it means that his instalments have now changed to £2.50. From there, we can click text/email, and it will allow us to send a message out to our parents. At the top of the screen, you can see it says include additional parents. By clicking this box, it will allow Max's additional parent to be added to this payment, which would give mom and dad the option to access the system equally and each make payments that they need to. The system will also send a reminder which will tell the parents how much they need to pay, where they're going, and how to make their payment online. With this hash amount, that will put the individual's amount in there. So obviously we changed Max's amount to £5, so it will only request £5 from him, and no other parents will be aware. We can also add attachments to this. So if you did want to send any additional information out, the system will message your parents by email and text to ensure that parents that have text messages available or emails are all getting the messages. We simply click send message and our message will go out to our parents. So I'm just going to touch on our Cashier's Catering tool, as we mentioned that earlier in the webinar. So your Cashier's Catering tool can be used to manage dinner orders in the classroom, or it can also reflect any dinner orders that you may have had from home. So I'm just going to select Class Blue. As you can see, some of our pupils are greyed out, so they are the people that have logged in and made bookings from home. If you did want to access this in the classroom and take bookings, for example, Paul has came in the morning and wants to order a meal, you just simply select Paul and select the item that Paul wishes to have. As mentioned earlier, if you do have circumstances where a pupil shows up in school without a lunch and you can't get hold of the parent, then that's not a problem. You can simply just click on the pupil and the person in the office would be able to select a meal for them. When I'm selecting these pupils, what you will notice is it doesn't display any free school meal or universal infant allowance. It means that every child has the option and every parent to pre-order a meal without payment if they don't pay, if they're free school meal, and it also doesn't show that to the rest of the class. What we also have in the system is the option to produce a catering report. So this would be for your kitchen staff, and it will simply display all the meals that have been ordered and how many meals need to be made. As you can see here, the right person would be able to see, without the pupils having knowledge, how many free school meals and how many universal have been ordered that day. What we also have is the Cashier tab. So this is the area that will allow you to manage any manual payments in school if required. So let me just go to my account here. As you can see in the top right hand corner of the screen, it clearly displays any arrears that I have been allowed to have on the system. If I've came into school and I'd like to pay those arrears, you've got the option to select check, cash or voucher, or as mentioned, you can take a card payment in school without a PIN terminal by simply selecting Pay by Card. Once we get to this screen and press OK, we'd then be prompted to enter the card details. Every time a parent pays online, brings cash into school or makes a card payment in school, they will always be issued with a receipt. As you've noticed, we've also got the option to pay by voucher. If you have a after school club, so we have breakfast club here, and what we would have the option to do is add a voucher to cover the cost of breakfast club. When adding this voucher, we simply put the amount and also the voucher code just for our reconciliation purposes. What that would then do is it would credit that pupil's account, giving that parent the same flexibility to log in online, book their clubs, and not miss out on anything that might be available to them. Moving on from our Cashier tab, we're just going to have a quick look at some of the reports. So as I mentioned, it's really simple in school to chase and manage any arrears. We have two reports: money overdue for any payments overdue in school, and also our dinner arrears. By simply clicking into dinner arrears, we have a list of everything overdue in the academic year, and it's really simple to communicate with our parents. So all we do is click chase overdue, and then from there we can send a text message and an email out to our parents, which would tell them what their arrears are for and also how much they need to pay and how to pay online. Within our inclusive package, these messages are not paid for. They're free within the system. So when you click send reminders, it doesn't restrict you from being able to send those text messages out to your parents. As you'll notice at the top, we also have the include additional parents, so we can click that and send the message to both mom and dad if needed. Going back to our reports and scrolling down to the bottom, you have receipts that you can reprint and resend at any time. We have our student statements, which are viewable for parents online, and also your sent message report, so you can see any messages that have gone out to your parents and whether they've changed their number. Moving on to the admin section. There are two main areas that the school will use, the student and the additional parents. As mentioned, School Money will allow you to assign multiple contacts to one pupil. By simply clicking Add and selecting your student, you have the option to add additional email addresses, phone numbers, name and last name to this pupil's account, which will mean that both mom and dad can access the system as individuals. If we now take a look at our student area, what we have here is a list of all our students in school. School Money is really simple to launch to all of your parents. So if you have parents that can't make it into school, that you don't see on a regular basis, you tend to find that letters in bags don't make it home, then that's not a problem. School Money is launched to your parents by text and email. So if I just select Max, for example, and we want to send him a welcome message. So this message will welcome your parents to the School Money system. It will give them the link where they need to go to make a payment. And it will also offer them a password, which they can change to something that they will remember in the future. By clicking Send Reminders, your system is launched at the click of a button with no need to see your parents or to send letters home. By clicking into Max's account, we can see all the information that we've pulled across from your MIS. As you can see within the system, we can include things like medical information and dietary requirements. The bottom left-hand corner of the screen will show any dinner patterns and also if this pupil is a free school meal pupil. And then we have the option to use PayPoint. With our PayPoint slips, you only have to produce one for your parents, which again, if your parents don't come in very often, it means that you don't have to print multiple slips and try and get them out to your parents all the time. So every time Max goes on a school trip, he uses the same barcode. He simply takes this barcode to the local shop where there is a PayPoint facility. They will scan the school trip barcode and Max would hand over the cash. From there, the money is then credited to any trips that Max has. With regards to dinners and clubs, this parent would be able to go to the local shop and top up their account for dinners or for their wraparound care. Once they have made the top up via PayPoint, they can then go into their School Money account and they can book and pay using that credit from PayPoint. It would work the same with vouchers. You also have the option in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen to reset a password. If a parent forgets their password, we simply click reset and a text message and an email will go out to either of Max's parents. So now we've had a look at some of the points within the system that will show how you can use School Money in an inclusive way. I'm now open to any questions, if anybody would like to ask any. Or as you can see, we have my email address on this screen. If anybody would like to ask me an email, to pop over an email with any questions, then that would be great. We'll just wait for some questions. So our first question is regarding multiple contacts for a pupil. So is there additional cost for this feature? No. So if you have any pupils that have two parents that would both like to access the system, or a parent and a carer, and they would like to access the system as individuals, then that is not a problem. There is no additional cost to add those secondary parents into the system. And there would obviously be no additional transaction charges either if you are on that all-inclusive unlimited package that we have. So our second question is around PayPoint. So are there additional transaction charges for PayPoint? As with some systems, it's quite expensive. So really good point. With School Money, there is just a license fee of £95. So for any schools that wish to add PayPoint to their system, then it's £95 a year and it is unlimited transactions. So if you do have a lot of parents in your school that are using PayPoint, then that's not a problem. That is still covered in that unlimited package. PayPoint can also be good as well. Just a thought. If you have parents that are slightly reluctant to pay online and would just generally rather prefer cash, then that's not a problem. Again, that is something that you can use PayPoint for. And we often find in schools that actually that sort of pushes your parents towards paying online. So they'd maybe start off with PayPoint and then eventually move to the online payments to fit in with the rest of the parents. Okay, another question, how easy is it to add on the Cashier catering? If we are moving towards pre-orders, so it's really simple. If you do want to add on the Cashier catering and have your parents pre-order from a menu, if that's something that you're thinking about doing, so obviously we've noticed a bit of a change with that. A lot more schools are moving more towards a pre-ordering with things like bubbles and having to manage the dinner hall slightly different. That's not a problem. Just give us a call or pop me over an email on my email address at the bottom, and we'd be happy to give someone to give you a call in school and give you a short demonstration of how that works in a little bit more detail than what we've discussed today. Are there any more questions from anybody? Okay, so that's everything for today. Thank you so much for joining our webinar. For anybody who may have arrived late or wants to see the webinar again, then we will have a recording on our EduSpot website and also our YouTube channel where we have a lot of other webinars that we've done for schools. So if there's anything else that you think you might need to see, then it's always good to have a look through the different webinars that we've had. And once again, any additional questions or if anybody wants to have a chat about anything that we've looked at today, then feel free to get in touch. Thank you, everybody.